Gender equality is when people of all genders have equal rights, responsibilities, and opportunities. All people deserve to be treated fairly. Gender equality improves the lives of women and girls, as well as trans and gender diverse people, ensuring they are treated as equals and able to thrive in the community. However, achieving gender equality isn't easy. It's important to identify barriers that can get in the way of progress so they can be removed. Barriers can include gender bias, outdated way of doing things, and strong gender stereotypes about how men and women should act. Gender bias can also be compounded by other biases and stereotypes, including race, religion, sexual orientation, disability, or age.
To think, okay? And then afterwards, I will call one by one to share your practices.
Siya si Ernesto, isa siyang Muslim. Siya si Olivia, ang asawa ni Ernesto. Siya si Rubilin, ang asawa ni Ernesto. At siya si Hana, ang asawa ni Ernesto. At sila ang mga asawa ni Ernesto.
Muslim supporters of polygamy often cite in their Quran verse 4:13, which instruct men to take as many wives as they can take care of, up to 4. And they also point out that Prophet Muhammad had multiple wives. The idea that Islam allows polygamy so that men could pursue lust and as an excuse to fulfill sensual desires is a far cry from what Islam actually wishes to achieve. Time and time again, The question of polygamy in Islam is raised as a grave issue and a big hurdle to any serious discussions about Islam.
Go.
Pwede na siguro tayo magsalita. Oo, ako.
Anong ginagawa niyo dyan? Maglaba nga kayo? Ito.
Tama na yan, amor. Bakit ka na?
This is considered harmful to women because discrimination between the wives is seen. Men are allowed to marry up to 4 women, but some do not take responsibility for it. They only use their other wives for purpose and they treat them as a trash. This is not right because it violates women's feelings and rights.
The Church and Gender Socialization. So this is the article of Michel. So this theory explains the gender differences in religion. So according to Brad Schaaf of Baylor University and Christopher J. Ellison of the University of Texas at San Antonio argue for more explanation of genetic factors. So genetic differences account for roughly a third of personal religious devotion, suggesting that biological positions remain an untested explanation for gender differences and religiosity. But psychological differences could help explain gender differences and religiosity. So in addition, Edward H. Thompson Jr. found that religiousness is influenced more by a feminine outlook than by being female. So this suggests that personality traits typically associated with femininity and masculinity are related to gender differences and religiosity. So nature explains that the religious gender gap between men and women is largely explained by socialization into traditional gender roles, lower rates of female workforce participation, and national economic structures. So University of Aberdeen's Marta Biatowska and Steve Rose argue that this is due to a combination of different social facts, such as women's dominant role and children in death, as well as men's pressure on women to be religious as a way to control female sexuality. The dominant reason for the gender gap is the time lag. In the way secularization in modern times has affected men and women, as men's preeminent roles in the workforce and public life meant they were generally affected earlier than women. So as women become more like men in activities outside the home, the theorized women may become more similar and level of religiousness may eventually disappear entirely. So this means that women generally greater level of religiosity has been observed by scholars for decades. So researchers began to find that while women generally were more religious than men, this was not always the case. So researchers had found that lower rates of female labor force participation are the major cause of women greater religious commitment. They hypothesized the work outside home could provide psychological benefits and make religion less important and relevant for some people. So Landon Chabelle suggests that women in the labor force, particularly those in high-paying, full-time jobs, are less religious due to less social validation and affirmation from religious congregations. Linda Wood, head of Lancaster University, theorizes that Christian women in Europe and North America increasingly entered the labor force in 1960s, creating more independent career-oriented identities. However, traditional forms of Christianity did not support these new identities, resulting in women overall religious commitment decreasing. So social scientists David Was, Shobhan McAndrews, and Ingrid Storm argue that in Europe, the gender gap decreases with modernization, but this is due to rising national income per capita rather than secularization or gender equality. This suggests that women give higher priority to security and religion as it provides a sense of safety and well-being. So this is the article of Michelle.
Okay, class. So before we go, bibigyan ko muna kayo ng kanya-kanya nyong assignments, okay? Are you okay with it? Yes. Yes. Okay, good. So, ang gagawin nyo is you will search on the following points. So, the first point is dominance of male leaders. Ruby, okay?
Yes, ma'am. The dominance of male leaders. Complementarianism is the idea held in some faiths that men and women play different complementary roles in life, society, and particularly in religious practices. Rather than regarding women as essentially inferior or incapable of leading, women are regarded as equal. Within Christianity, some texts in the New Testament have been cited to deny women the right to become priests or pastors for much of its history. One of these is found in the 1 Timothy chapter 2 verses 12, which states that I permit no woman to teach or to have authority over a man. She is to keep silent. Another is found in the 1 Corinthians chapter 14 verse 34 to 35, which states, women should be silent in the churches, for they are not permitted to speak, but should be subordinate, as the law says. If there is anything they desire to know, let them ask their husbands at home, for it is shameful for a woman to speak in churches. However, complementarian approaches are highly controversial within global Christianity. Even those who believe that men and women do have innately different roles have very different ideas of what that it means. Can women preach or take leadership roles? Should be they submissive to their husbands? To validate or disprove this idea, let's have an interview to our male and female members of the church.
Uy, Hana, ano kaya gagawin natin doon sa takdang aralin natin? May kakilala ka bang pwede nating interviewin? Wala rin kasi akong kakilala. Wala din akong kakilala eh.
Ay! Yung tito at tita ko, pwede natin interviewin.
Malapit lang ba yung bahay nila?
Oo, dyan lang.
Eh sige, puntahan natin.
Tara.
Go.
Ito, tita. Ako to, si Hana. Andyan po ba kayo?
Anya de kanakan.
Good afternoon po, tito, tita.
Hello po.
O, anong may paglilingkod namin sa inyo mga ita?
Meron po kasi kami assignment, tita. Kailangan po kasi namin mag-interview. Pwede po ba?
Yun lang ba? O, sige, tuloy-tuloy kami.
Masok!
Go.
Meron po kasi kaming tanong dito na kung agree po ba kayo na ang mga lalaki ay sila yung mas may malaking gampanin sa loob ng simbahan? Agree po ba kayo, Tito? Tita?
Males are indeed dominant in leading our churches because it is believed that the sacraments can only be performed by Christ. The priesthood as an icon of Christ, in other words, is reserved to males because Christ himself is a man. On the other hand, females can also teach, administer, or preach, but it should still need the guidance of the priest. We can also observe that the number of females who are going to church is higher than males, especially in the rural areas, because some still believe in their culture, which made them stay being pagans. As a result, females are encouraged and engaged to become leaders in the church.
You know, the males are actually dominant when it comes to the leadership inside the church because this was one of our religious belief where males are only the ones who are permitted to become priests. For these reasons, they are only ones who possess the roles of being a deacons, priests, bishops, preachers, pastors, and presbyters, ministers, and the Pope.
Okay, for the number 2, differences in the religious commitment among male and female members. So I will assign Miss Christelle.
Yes, ma'am. So for today, we will be discussing about the differences in religious commitment among male and female members.
So this discussion is about why are men are more religious than women. Some people says that women are more religious than men, and some people says also that men are more religious than women. So this discussion is based on our research. So for number 1, men report greater weekly attendance than women in 28 countries. Dito naman nagpapakita na ang mga lalaki daw ay nagre-report sila ng mas malaki or mas madalas silang mag-attend sa mga mosque, ganon, simbahan or church based sa 28 countries na na-research kumpara sa mga babae. Men attend the services at a mosque much more often than women do. So dito daw ay mga lalaki mas madalas silang mag-attend sa serbisyo sa mosque kaysa sa mga babae. And then next, men appear to have a great innate tendency to take risk and therefore are more willing than women to handle that they will not face punishment in the time after life. So dito naman sinasabi naman na mas higit na nagpapakita na mas likas ang ugali o mas religyoso ang mga lalaki dahil sa pakikipagsapalaran at handa silang sumugal kaysa sa mga babae na hindi nakakahanap or hindi nakakaharap ang mga babae ng kaparusahan sa susunod na buhay gaya ng mga lalaki. And then next, men are more likely than women to say they regularly attend services at a mosque. So dito naman sinasabi na yung mga lalaki daw ay mas regular silang nag-attend sa mga serbisyo sa mosque kaysa sa mga babae. na bihira lang mag-attend sa mosque. Mas malaki or mas madalas ang pag-attend ng mga lalaki sa mosque na kung saan sila ay nag-attend or sumasamba. And then next is men are expected to attend communal Friday midday prayers in the attendance. So dito naman sinasabi na yung mga lalaki ay mas inaasahan na dumalo sa mga communal Friday o midday prayers in the mosque kaysa sa mga babae. So dito mas inaasahan nila na dapat yung mga lalaki ay mag-attend sa mga communal Friday midday prayers in the mosque. And then the last, among Jews and Muslims, men are more religious than women. This may be caused by theology. In these religious traditions, men are required to attend public religious services while women are not. So, dito naman, sinasabi naman na ang mga Muslims or Jews or tinatawag na Hudyo ay ang mga lalaki ay mas religyoso kaysa sa mga babae. Ito ay maaaring sanhi ng teolohiya sa relihiyosong tradisyon. Kinakailangan din na ang mga lalaki ay dumalo sa pampublikong serbisyo sa relihiyon habang ang mga babae ay hindi. So, lahat ng mga ito ay base lamang sa aming research.
Next is the religious commitment among female members. According to our research, women are generally more religious than men, particularly among Christians. They are more likely to express a greater interest in religion, have a stronger personal religious commitment, and attend church more. Another is women pray daily and attend religious services at least once a week. Just like my tita and lola, every night I always observe that my tita will always go in front of our altar before she sleeps and start praying. Lagi rin niyang ini-encourage yung apo nila, which is my pamangkin, kaya at the age of 2 years old, she knows how to pray already. And also, my lola, I observed that she always murmured something while her eyes was closed. Other example, di ba pag nagpapadasal tayo ng bahay, ganon, or something. Mostly, ang mga nag-lead ng prayer or yung padasal is women. Next, women are more devoted than men by several standard measures of religious commitment. Kagaya na lang last Sunday, which is Palm Sunday. When we went to church, I observed that most of women are the one who attended and waving their palaspas for it to be blessed. Giving the example that I shared to you, you can see that mas devoted nga ang mga female kesa sa male. Nearly 3/4 of women believe that religion can answer all or most of today's problem compared to men. Also, women are far more likely than men to read the Bible, at least daily and weekly. 43% versus 29%. See the difference? And are almost twice as likely to participate in a Bible study group. 18% versus 10%. I remember there was once in my high school year, as schoolmates, that every lunch they encourage other people to join them during their Bible study. And they are mostly girls, a group of women. See? Mas active yung mga girls or women sa Bible study or sa group study. Edgell and colleagues 2017 argue that women are more likely to be sanctioned or non-conforming behaviors than men. Thus, choosing to be non-religious is more socially risky for women. To avoid stigma or social sanctioning, women tend to choose to be religious. Also, women, particularly Christian, are generally more religious than men worldwide. An estimated 83% of women around the world identify with a faith group, compared with 80% of men according to the report. Females are taught to be more submissive, passive, obedient, and nurturing than males, and that these traits are associated with higher levels of religiosity. Contrast, women and men are equally likely to believe in heaven, hell, and angels. By contrast, Muslim women and Muslim men show similar levels of religiousness on all measures of religious commitment, except frequency of attendance at worship services. Because of religious norms, Muslim men attend services at a mosque much more often than Muslim women do. Study reveals a more complex relationship between religion and gender than has been commonly assumed, while women generally are more religious. Men display higher levels of religious commitment in some countries and religious groups and in other contexts. There are a few, if any, discernible gender differences in religion. Women are more religious than men because of their socialization. Gender is a social construct where women are socialized into roles emphasizing nurturance, submission, and gentleness, whereas men are instrumental socialized. Collett and Lizardo 2009 argue that gender differences in a risk aversion are attributable to a social mechanism or gender socialization practices. Patriarchal families differentially socialize their sons and daughters with traditional gender values. Such differential socialization leads to a lower taste for risk among daughters but not for sons. The authors contend that the gender gap in religiousness is greater among women raised by mothers of lower socioeconomic status than by mothers of higher socioeconomic status. Socioeconomic status is their proxy for patriarchy.
Tao po! Tao po! Tao po! Tao po! Ano yon? Ano po sana? I-interview po sana namin kayo. Maaari po ba? Tungkol saan ba yan?
Tungkol po sana sa tungkol po sa religious commitment po.
Ay, sige, sige. Kayo pasok. Pasok.
Salamat po.
Oo, po kayo.
Upo din po kayo. Ay, tayo. Doon na lang tayo. Sige. Dito na lang po kami. Upo. Pwede na po ba namin start?
Sige.
Ano po yung masasabi nyo sa mga pagkakaiba ng babae at lalaki sa kanilang religious commitment po?
When it comes to religious commitment, women are more devoted than men. If you look around the world, the majority of it is actually women. I think that one factor influencing why women are more committed is nurture, the way that women are taught to behave, and the beliefs that they are taught to value. Women like us Christians are more likely to join services, pray on a daily basis, and believe in the Lord and heaven. Also, the social interaction with others. But there are also men who are also devoted like us.
Men are also religious but not like the women's religion's commitment. Based on my observation and interview, the majority of women go to church or need to attend the mass. Most women attend the church than men. Sometimes, men do not attend the mass, but the majority of women attend the church to pray to God more than men do. And women's dominant role in childbirth in that how they raise their child, giving care and love to their family and praying for good health, reading the Bible, singing Christian songs, and everything which keeps women closer to religion than men. Women are generally, but not universally, more religious than men in several ways. But mostly, women are interested in going to church to pray and worship God. And based on my observation, every Sunday, the attendance of the men is more or less than the women. This proves that men are not that interested. So I can say that women is more religious because most of women believe in God. They pray everywhere or whenever they are, they praise God with all their heart, unlike men do.
Maraming salamat po sa mga sagot nyo. Malaking tulong po to sa aming assignment. Thank you po. Pupunta na po kami. Salamat po.
Okay, for the third one, relationship of female labor, participation with religious commitment. So I will assign Mr. Ernesto.
Yes, ma'am. I am Ernest Kasangan and I'm here today to discuss my topic about relationship of female labor in participation in the religious commitment. So, I have here one topic that I researched that I focus on. So, women have a biblical role in society from helping within the church to fulfilling the Great Commission. The Bible encourages all Christians, both women and men, to follow the commands of God and telling others about it. Women can use avenues such as serving in church and political appointment to accomplish this charge. Female from cover to cover in the Bible have been used by God and they will continue to be used by Him in the future as they are obedient and following His leading lives. So, in my explanation, we are servants of God's that we must follow His own words and commands. Like, we must serve in our own church, but today we must focus on the relationship of female labor, patient of in the religious commitment. So what I can say here is just my opinion. In my opinion, female is more active than men. Female become a leaders in the church if there is an activity like Bible study, service, and others. Female prioritize their church in serving their church praise rather than doing their work as ang ilaw ng tahanan. Compared to man, they do the responsible as a head of the family. Example, kung may lamay, tapos nagtawag si para na magsaservice sila doon is female is kagad pupunta ngay dahil inuunang muna nila ang simbahan bago ang kanilang trabaho. Compare sa mga lalaki ngay kung si para nagtawag, parang tay ka muna, ganun ang sasabihin ng lalaki dahil may trabaho pa ako pagkatapos ng trabaho ko, ganun ngay di yung mga kalalakihan ngayon, pinaprioritize nila ang kanilang responsibilidad bilang ama ama ng tahanan. Ang aking masasabi ngayon, woman is more empowered about church activities than compared to man. So, ang mga kababaihan is mas active sila about sa church. Like, kung may Bible study, silang naiiwan sa church after the mass. Yung mga kalalakihan wala na dahil yung nasa isip ng kalalakihan ngayon, kailangan nilang magtrabaho upang buhayin ang kanilang pamilya. So, pagkatapos ng mas ngayon, umaalis sila agad dahil magtatrabaho pa sila para may pangtustos nila sa kanilang pangangailangan araw-araw. In my conclusion of this, si woman is more active sa church kahit kung si pare ay nagtawag ng mag-service, kagad sila pupunta kaysa sa mga kalalakihan. Mga babae kasi is the prioritize niya yung activities dahil nga sabi nga ni Lorna, we must serve our church first before doing anything. So, parang pinagsilbihan muna nila ang kanilang simbahan bago nila gawin ang kanilang trabaho. Compared sa mga lalaki nga, inuuna muna nila ang kanilang trabaho bago yung simbahan. Parang magulo, pero yun lang po ang aking masasabi ngayon dahil gusto ko lang i-summarize nga mas active yung kababaihan tungkol sa kalalakihan. Kalalakihan kasi is they must do their responsible as father or head of the family. That's all. Thank you.
Tao po.
Tuloy po.
Magandang umaga po, ma'am. Ako po si Area Salzaman, isa po pong estudyante ng Legislative University. Pwede po ba kayo ma-interview, ma'am?
Sige, tara, pasok dito. Pasensya na at marunong ako.
Sige po, ma'am.
Tara, okay ka dyan, Iha.
May itatanong po ako sa iyo, ma'am. Ano masasabi niyo po sa gender roles with your religious po, ma'am?
Base sa aking karanasan, ako ay pumasok sa Katoliko at naranasan ko rin pumasok sa Christian na kung saan na tinatawag na Assembly of God. Sa akin, ang na-observe ako sa Katoliko ay hindi pwedeng mag-asawa ang lalaki o ang gumaganap ng padre. At sa babae naman ay hindi pwedeng mag-asawa ang gaganap na madre. Dahil ikinumit nila yung sarili nila para sa Panginoon.
Sa Christian naman po, ano ang roles ng babae at lalaki po?
Sa Christian naman, dito madami ang pwedeng gampanin ng babae at lalaki. Meron tayo ditong, yun nga tulad sa relationship of female and male na mas active ang babae at lalaki. At ay mas active ang babae. Ngunit ang gumagamit naman or ang gumagalaw sa instrument sila yung mga kalalakihan. Ngunit sa panahon ngayon ay kailangan maging patas o maging pareho kung sino man ang pwedeng leader o mag-lead sa loob ng simbahan. Dahil may kakayahan ang mga kababaihan at kalalakihan. May kakayahan silang maging leader o mag-lead sa isang simbahan.
So, ito pong na hinuha kong aral ko sa inyo. Sa Katolik po, ang lalaki ay hindi pinapayagan mag-asawa ang mga pare at madre. Sa Christian naman po ay pinapayagan mag-asawa ang pare at madre. Magtatanong po ako sa inyo, ma'am. Sa ngayon po, pinapayagan ba ang babae at lalaki na pwede ba silang mag-lead ng ng simbahan o hindi po?
Pwede. Sila ay pinapayagan na dahil sa babae at lalaki ay yun ay tinatawag na responsibilidad at kagustuhan nilang maging leader sa loob ng isang simbahan.
Parang sinasabi niyo po na mas active ang babae noon kaysa ngayon. Noon po, ma'am. Pero ngayon po ay parehas po. Pwede pong maging leader ang babae o lalaki sa simbahan po.
Pwede.
Yan lang po ang aking masasabi po, ma'am. And maraming salamat po sa interview na po ito.
Baka gusto mo munang kumain o may natitira kami pagkain dito.
Sige lang po. Tapos na po akong kumain, ma'am. Maraming salamat po.
Salamat!
Thank you po, ma'am.
Okay, and for the last topic, which is gender roles within the religious group, I will assign Miss Dada, okay? Yes, ma'am.
What are the different Christian attitudes to women towards men? Here's their attitude and their role. Let's talk about these three religions. First, we have the Roman Catholic. But Roman attitude to the role of women is the Catholic in church and society. In Genesis, it says, God created human in His own image and His likeness. Man and woman have been created in perfect equally. Na kaya ding gawin ng mga kababaihan ang mga kaya ng mga kalalakihan. Equal dignity through in a different way. In other words, men and women are equal but different. Women can perform all of the same roles as men in the church. Maaari silang maging leader sa loob ng simbahan. Maaari silang mag-hold ng ministers. At pwede din silang mag-lead sa mga activity na gagawin nila sa labas. The church, Jesus chose men to form the 12 apostles, and the apostles did the same when choose their successors. So, according to my research, na hindi pwedeng mag-asawa ang mga priests or ordained priesthood. Why? Because they choose to commit themselves to God. They choose to focus on serving God. Second, we have the evangelical Protestant. What evangelical attitude to the role of women is the Protestant in the church and society? According to Genesis, teaches that men and women are equal but different. Men and women have different roles in society. Support a very traditional view of marriage. The husband is the provider and the wife is a homemaker. Alam naman natin na ang mga tatay ay tinatawag na haligi ng tahanan at pagdating naman sa mga nanay ay sila ang mga ilaw ng tahanan. The head of a wife is her husband. Wives submit to their husbands in everything. I do not permit a woman to
Magandang umaga po. I am Daniela Castro from BSU and naparito po ako para mag-interview. Pwede po ba kayong maabala kahit sa
Sige, pasok.
Thank you.
Sige, pasok
Salamat po. Good morning po. Ako nga po pala si Daniela Castro from BSU and nandito po ako para mag-interview about relationship of female labor in participation in the religious commitment. Pwede po ba akong makakuha ng inyong kalaman?
Para sa aking kalaman, ang mga babae ay sila ang more active tungkol sa church activity tulad ng kung may aktibidad niya ay tulad ng choir, mas active yung girls doon kaysa sa lalaki. Dahil kasi yung lalaki i-focus ngayon sa kanilang work. Parang ginagawan ngayon nila ang role muna nila sa kanilang pamilya. Kaya ang mga lalaki ngayon hindi din sila ingay tungkol sa church. Yung babae nga could deserve nga in the church as siyang more active tulad ng kung may service nga sa community, yung babae ang kasama ng pare. Kung may aktibidad nga tulad ng yung kormugar nga o nagbibigay ng kormugar sa mga may sakit nga, active din yung babae. Yung lalaki kasi nga kasi because they're responsible as brother nga in the family. Yun yung aking opinion nga sa female labor nga natin sa mundo.
So po, ang nakuha ko po sa inyo is, kapag po babae, mas active po siya sa church. For example po yung mga gatherings.
Yes.
Tapos pagdating po sa lalaki is, hindi po sila masyadong active kasi ginagawa po nila yung responsibility nila inside their house or for their family. Yun po at maraming salamat po.
Thank you.
Madami po akong nalaman.
Thank you.
Salamat po.
Sige.
Mauna na po ako. Okay, goodbye class. Goodbye.